Hello, Richard Williamson here. I'm going to be going over my final project and my poster board. So first I'll go over my poster board and then I'll go through uh, the updates to my application. Uh, so first off, I decided to use JavaFX for the user interface because it's easier to follow a user interface over text when a game is playing. So it just made it easier to follow. It's quite basic, and hopefully once I get to know how to use uh, the Java FX stuff, I can make it better in the future. So the project goal is to create a soft-playing Uno app that has 4 players and follows the rules of the game of Uno. In the beginning, which is stage one, uh, in the beginning of the application design, the application was developed to be a command line interface. Very basic output. Player hands here. You can see the output of the player hands. Um, Stage 2, during the second stage of the application, it was self-playing with the command line interface. It met all of the original criteria for self-playing Uno game. Um, and here you can see this was actually really hard to follow, and it actually made debugging um, really hard because you had to go through all of it instead of watching and seeing the flow being incorrect or something bad happening. With the third and final stage of the Uno application, the UI was moved to using JavaFX. The self-playing Uno application now had a basic UI that was easier to follow than the command line version. The hope is one day to continue developing the UI to use graphics and allowing for pausing and starting a new game using buttons. Here we have the ADT, and this is went over in other games, but you have your game uh, class, your player class, your Uno class, your Uno hand class, and your Uno card class. And it just goes over the properties and the functions that exist in the classes. Here's our flow chart of the Uno game. This is something we used before we started developing, which helped us in stage 3 and 2 to get the the classes we needed, the objects we needed, and creating that. So starting a new game with code, all you have to do when using this is create a function, start a new game. This game is a new game. Create players. We wanted 4 players. You got to shuffle the deck and start the game. And then here's is an example of code. A turn in the game with code. And so this is just, you know, logic to add to allow to play a hand with code. You just get the player, find out if they can play any card. If this is the first card uh, played, uh, get your Uno deck, get the last card played, find out if the last card played was wild, then find out what color we're using, get the Uno, have the player choose a card to play, uh, add that the card was played, handle any actions that the card has. If the card's wild, we need to pick a color. If we only have one card left, the player needs to declare Uno. Some logic needs to be added here to maybe have a player not declare Uno. And finally, we check for a winner. Uh, Things that were learned from the Uno project: storyboarding and stubbing, an application before writing code, allowed us to think through the logic before writing the code. This saved us time fighting bugs and holes in logic. We were also able to easily find missing functions and fix logical issues quicker because there was no code that tied us to what we had. Things like card games are a whole lot easier to follow with a visual interface. Command line interface made things harder to follow and debug. In the command line version, the game originally started playing backwards. This was not found and fixed until we had a graphical user interface. And so I will go ahead and end my stop my slideshow. And here is my user interface Java, which is using Java FX. We're using a timer task to update the UI and play the game So here is our user interface class. We have a game object, the current play that we're on. Here's our stage, which allows us to update the UI. Here's our timer and our starting color. This here launches the application. This will start the game, uh, which was shown in our poster board. So here we're getting a pane for the player. In this pane, we have a stack pane, a rectangle, and a text. And we need to get the Uno hand to find out what they have, how many cards they have in their hand. We set each box to the height of 40. And here we're setting the outline of the box. If it's that player's turn, it will be red. If it's not that player's turn, the outline will be black. We fill the color with cyan. We add the box and the text so that it stacks on top of it. And then we have a stack pane for getting the last card. And it's pretty similar to the previous function, but here we need to set the color of the box. And we need to set it to the color of the card. So we have red, yellow, blue, green, wild, and wild is pink. And if it doesn't meet any of the above, it's white. And the only time that happens is at the start, which you don't really see. And then here we need to determine the action, and based on the action, we change the text that is displayed on the card. Like here is draw 2. If the card is wild, it's a draw 4 wild. R for reverse, S for skip, W for wild. So this is just a wild card with no draw on it. And then we have a get the deck size pane, and so this is how many cards are left on the deck. Just make it white and put the number in it. And again, here we have the deck played, so these are the cards that are in the played pile. So we get that size, and it's white again. We need to get the game state, and this will be so we have starting, the player's turn, or the turn and the number, and the winner and their name. And so the stage, we're using a grid pane, and so here in our comments is kind of the way we want it to look. So it's a 4x3 grid. We got the player hand, how many cards are in their hand, player 1, 2, 3, and or sorry, 1, 2, 3, or something like that. And then we have D for how many cards are left in the deck. L is the last card that was played, and X is the cards that are in the discard pile. And that's just to help us to keep in mind what our grid is. And so yeah, it's player 1, player 2, player 3, and player 4. And then here's our stage, which we just invoked the function we just looked at. We start the game. Oh, so we start the game. We set the title, start the game. Set some settings on the grid pane. And then we set the stage. We show it. And then we start our timer. And here's our timer. And it runs this task. And here is the task which we looked at in our poster board for running a hand in the game. And here's where we update the scene with our new grid. So go ahead and we'll watch a game play through. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. Oh, this one might take a bit. But as you can see, it's pretty quick. But you can see the cards that are being played. Turn we're on. And you can see that it does change direction based on reverse. Players do draw cards. Players do draw cards because of drawing, and then it does skip people. and that it's following suit with colors, and when to match them, and when to use wild. Got a player with one card left. Will he win? Oh, and player one is our winner, and we have yeah, and so that is our Uno application. I really enjoyed this project, and hopefully I can improve upon it in the future. Thank you.